If you've ever watched the History Channel, you've probably seen junk archaeology. And even if you haven't, you're probably not immune from it. Stay tuned as we talk about the problem of junk archaeology on ancient Egypt and the Bible. Junk archaeology is pervasive in our culture. And long before there was fake news, the archaeological sciences had junk archaeology. The media has bombarded us with stories of ancient aliens building pyramids, crystal skulls, the Ark of the Covenant being in a church in Ethiopia, and Pharaoh's chariots at the bottom of the Gulf of Aqaba. So what exactly is junk archaeology, and why is it a problem? Junk archaeology is a set of ideas that have a veneer of archaeology, but where the conclusions cannot be supported by the evidence. Normally, junk archaeology takes on the form of challenging the status quo, the academic orthodoxy, the prevailing beliefs. And it usually either presents a radical new theory not supported by mainstream archaeology, or it sensationalizes a discredited old theory with new data. Now, in and of itself, presenting a radical new theory or reviving an old theory with new data can be perfectly acceptable when the evidence warrants. And that's the important caveat. When the evidence warrants. Archaeologists are supposed to follow the evidence wherever it leads, not venture off into left field when the feeling suits us. So, how can you tell if you are being presented with junk archaeology? Well, number one, bait and switch. This is where an author promises one thing but never delivers on the promise. One sees a lot of books that promise to reveal the actual location of the Ark of the Covenant in a church in Ethiopia, or under the Temple Mount, or under Golgotha, or at Tara in Ireland. Somehow, these promises never quite make it to actually showing you what they promise. It's the promise and the exploration of the promise that they're giving you. The second way you might find out if you're dealing with junk archaeology is if the debate is being suppressed. I participated in a debate where a biased moderator never gave me the microphone because he didn't want me to get a word in edgewise. On Facebook, I presented a critique of the recent Patterns of Evidence movie, only to have that discussion deleted. Suppression of debate can take many forms. But in the end, it is a backhanded admission that the argument is so weak that one has to resort to methods other than speech to get your point across. Often, this is a kind of hedge protection to protect a fan base from wandering off. If you present people with other alternatives to some of this junk archaeology, they might say, the real archaeology makes sense. I might actually believe that instead. So it does, and sometimes, come down to money. Follow the money. The third thing that might clue you in that you're dealing with junk archaeology is when the advocates pretend that conflicting evidence doesn't exist. Now, no position in archaeology is perfect. But to not engage the contrary evidence is a sure sign you're dealing with junk archaeology. Those who believe that space aliens build the Giza pyramids ignore the centuries of pyramid building that led up to the pyramids at Giza. Fourth factor that might clue you in that it's junk archaeology is logical fallacy. Begging the questions, assuming the conclusion one's trying to approve, affirming the consequent, arguing from negative evidence, straw men, non sequiturs, are all part and parcel to junk archaeology. A recent book I read assumed the date of the Exodus, dated a stela according to that date of the Exodus, and then claimed the stela was proof for that particular date of the Exodus. It was textbook circular reasoning. And finally, the fifth quality is junk archaeology often rubbishes the ideas of the past, then turns around and steals those ideas. Junk archaeologists are seldom creative. Many plagiarize their ideas from other people, and many fail to do the requisite reading needed to engage the discourse of archaeological literature. It truly amazes me how many people have ripped off and republished the discredited ideas of the now deceased huckster Ron Wyatt. Well, that covers junk archaeology at the 30,000 foot level. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time on Ancient Egypt and the Bible.